Good afternoon, family member, and welcome to the news. Be more responsible, stop killing the environment, stop pipeline vandalism and indiscriminate disposal of all kinds of waste. I am Paul Abodurin. And the highlight: political parties sign peace accord following commencement of electioneering campaigns. Reaction trail peace accord signed by political parties in Abuja. Former President Goodluck Jonathan criticizes show of force at just concluded Osun State ICC President Tomoko Akane. Thank you for joining us on the news. We begin with the report that political parties, presidential and National Assembly candidates on Tuesday signed the first National Peace Accord on issue-based campaigns ahead of the 2027 general elections. The parties pledged to shun violence, hate speech, misinformation, personal attacks, and other conduct capable of undermining the electoral process. The accord was signed in Abuja at a ceremony organized by the National Peace Committee in partnership with the Kuka Center, barely 24 hours before the statutory commencement of public campaigns and rallies for the elections. The event brought together the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Prof. Joash Amupito, political party leaders, presidential candidates, National Assembly candidates, and Inspector General of Police Olatunji Disu, and representatives of the diplomatic community, among other stakeholders. Those who signed the accord included President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, the Nigerian Democratic Congress presidential candidate Peter Obi, the Social Democratic Party candidate Adewale Adebayo, and his African Action Congress counterpart Omoyele Sowore, among others. In the meantime, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adewale Adebayo, has criticized President Bola Tinubu over his absence from the signing of the National Peace Accord ahead of the 2027 general elections. Adebayo said Tinubu's absence from Tuesday's ceremony in Abuja could send the wrong signal about the president's commitment to a peaceful electoral process. The SDP candidate, who made the remarks during an interview on a television program, urged the president to explain his absence and publicly reaffirm his commitment to the peace process. Adebayo argued that the president's participation in the process was important to strengthening confidence in Nigeria's democratic institutions. He also questioned the decision to have the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, represent the president at the event. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of African Action Congress AAC in the 2027 election, Omoyele Sowore, has blasted the Department of State Services DSS for looking down on him at the peace accord signing event ahead of the 2027 general elections. Taking to his verified X handle earlier today, Sowore lamented that it is typical of Nigeria's security agencies to belittle someone once he is not surrounded by a convoy of expensive cars and heavily armed escorts. The human rights activist said the culture of intimidation, class discrimination, and arbitrary treatment by Nigeria's security agencies must end. Sowore stated that he arrived at the National Peace Committee's Peace Accord signing event only to be blocked at the gate by the DSS operatives. He noted that if the event was supposed to be a peace accord involving presidential candidates, every candidate must be treated with equal dignity and respect. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, the Defense Minister General Christopher Musa retired, and senior lawyers have called for reforms to Nigeria's approach to election security, particularly in the massive deployment of security personnel and political mobilization witnessed during off-cycle elections. Now, were deployed ahead of the poll amid the presence of several governors, political leaders, and other senior government officials. Jonathan, in a statement titled Osun and the Need to Set New Boundaries for Political Conduct in Off-Cycle Elections, commended the Independent National Electoral Commission, security agencies, political parties, and Osun voters for the peaceful conduct of the election. However, he raised concerns over what he described as a growing and unwholesome practice in which serving governors, senior political office holders, party leaders, and other influential government functionaries converged on state holding elections with large numbers of aides and security personnel. A political affairs analyst, Mr. Jackson Lekon Ojo, says the insinuation that President Bola Tinubu-led administration just allowed the re-election of the Osun State governor is false. Speaking with Family Love 97.7 FM in Port Harcourt, Mr. Lekon Ojo noted that Governor Ademola Adeleke earned his victory through the collective resolve of Osun people. According to him, the incumbent governor appeared to have performed for the people, hence their resolve to re-elect him.
The victory is not as a result of any support by the federal government or the president himself. The victory is as a result of the resolve of the people. People are resilient. People have resolved that Adeleke has performed creditably very well. And the abysmal performance of APC at the federal level. Those are the two factors. Then the other factor is that Ademola has performed creditably well in the area of education, health, road network, infrastructural development, and others. And people have determined that there is no alternative to him.
He stated that the high turnout of the voters was a sign that the people were ready to ensure that their will prevailed during the exercise.
If the president wanted to assist Ademola Adeleke, I don't think the numbers of governors that travel to Osun State, the numbers of senators headed by the Senate president, they wouldn't have been there. They meant to collect that place from Ademola Adeleke, but eventually, because of his performance, the people of Osun State stood their ground. They stood behind him, and that was what gave him victory.
The political affairs analyst insisted that if the president had any agreement with the governor, the caliber of APC delegates to Osun State during the last days of campaigns won't have been so. Meanwhile, the 60 billion naira allegedly spent by the All Progressive Congress APC on vote buying during the Osun State governorship election has continued to generate reactions. Speaking during Family Love FM current affairs program, Voice of the People, a public affairs analyst, Reginald Nwachukwu, disclosed that if proven, it would be a clear sign that poverty is pervasive in the state. The analyst stated that vote buying cannot stop when majority of the populace are poor, accusing politicians of deliberately exploiting the people.
To say here is that when poverty is pervasive, there is no way, practically no way, that you can stop people from taking what they can get at the moment. I want to look at it from the perspective of politicians exploiting poverty. It is a viable justification, and that is why many of them argue when it is convenient for them, when it favors them, that when they give you the money, you take it and still vote your conscience, because the understanding is it is our collective patrimony, right? And I do not dispute with that idea. quite frankly, if you have your way of getting that money, you take it, but then vote your conscience. But I tell you something, it is not all that easy to do that.
A caller on the program condemned the act of vote buying, saying that irrespective of the hardship in the economy, people should not mortgage their future.
You know that with 50,000 naira, most Nigeria, almost 80% of Nigeria will collect that money. But as for me, well, what will I say? Even though I collect that money, I want to do the right thing by ensuring that I vote the right candidate. Because, my beloved brother, politicians have used poverty to scrutinize it. If you know the kind of massive hunger that is in the land, you will collect whatever amount they give to you. That's why I keep begging all our gladiators, please, more especially my own governor. Let's use Rivers money to build industry. Because you're lacking industry. Position is local government in our state. No industry.
You are listening to Family Love FM News. The news continues in just a moment. Still to come, FCCPC decry high cost of cement in Nigeria. Plus, other stories. Please stay with us.
Stay up to date with the biggest news and current affairs from the local, national and international scene on Family Love 97.7 FM Port Harcourt. Listen to the news at dawn at 6:30 a.m. The news at noon at 6 p.m. The news on weekends at 12 noon and 6 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. Family Love, your source for the news.
Glad to know you're still here, and now the rest of the news. In business, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has said its preliminary investigation into Nigeria's cement industry suggests possible manipulation of cement prices following widespread complaints over the soaring cost of the commodity, despite the country's large production capacity and abundant limestone deposits. The preliminary findings followed a cross-border study conducted by the Commission's Anti-Competitive Practices Department in response to widespread complaints over the rising cost of cement. In a statement issued on Tuesday by the FCCPC Director of Corporate Affairs, Ondaje Ijagu, the Commission said its investigation compared Nigeria's cement market with those of Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria and Togo. The FCCPC also said it has opened an investigation into possible price manipulation in Nigeria's cement industry after a 3-month inquiry raised concerns that prevailing market conditions may not fully explain the cost of the building material. And on the foreign scene, Japan has objected to sanctions imposed by the United States against International Criminal Court President Tomoko Akan, who is a Japanese citizen, calling Washington's latest outburst against the institution very unfortunate. The Donald Trump administration slapped sanctions on Akan and ICC senior trial lawyer Abdoulaye Seye of Senegal on Tuesday as part of Washington's campaign against what it called a corrupt and fatally politicized body. Japan's Foreign Ministry Press Secretary Toshihiro Kitamura said in a statement that Japan has consistently supported the ICC in its effort to prosecute and punish the most serious crimes of concern to the international community and to uphold the rule of law. Japan is the biggest funder of the ICC and a close ally of the United States, which is not a party to the international treaty that established the court. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio earlier said in a statement, without providing examples, that the sanctioned individuals have directly engaged in effort by the ICC to investigate, arrest, detain or prosecute officials whose government has not consented to ICC jurisdiction, allegation that ICC replied by saying that the U.S. sanctions undermine the rule of law. And in sports, Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olopade, has hinted that the Super Falcons will have new technical crew in place before they resume their 2028 Women's Olympic qualifying campaign in October. The Nigeria Football Federation asked the technical crew, led by coach Justin Madugo, to step down following the team's disappointing campaign at the 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco. Nigeria suffered their earliest ever exit at the tournament after losing 1-2-0 to Cameroon in the quarter-final, subsequently missed out on automatic qualification for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup before a 2-1 defeat by South Africa in the CAF playoff dealt in a final blow on their dreams. Other members of the technical crew affected by the decision include former Falcons goalkeeper Anne Chejin, goalkeeper coach Awal Malkwala, and Swedish duo Igor Kruch and Pel Carlsen, who as video analyst and fitness coach respectively. That's our package for you.